Hello all, good afternoon. Myself Revati Prasad, holistic coach. So today I'm here to share something interesting which really interested me. So thought I should share with you. And this is a case presentation in terms of renal. So this is a renal case presentation, and so the topic goes like this: kidney disease messed with the wrong chick. You will understand why this topic, and just getting into the case. Yeah. So the story, my client is 50 years old, male, and he's been married. He's blessed with two kids, and his wife is a cancer survivor. She had breast cancer, and with God's help, now she's completely out of it. And his profession is a director in a pharma company. So this is his brief story, and his current complaint is like, though his height and weight is okay, he's been diagnosed with hypertension in the year 2019, and CKD stage 3. So that is his GFR is 38. So I've just given the range. So if the GFR falls between 30 to 59, then they've been categorized under stage 3, and his creatinine is 2.01. And when we analyzed the blood parameters, so we were able to see the urine test showing some traces of glucose and blood. And when I was doing the history, he revealed that he was on multivitamin tablets for 15 years on his own, without any doctor's advice or without even checking it. And he suspects that, and the doctors also suspects that he could have got the CKD because of too much usage of MBT. That's a benefit. I mean, that's a doubt. And he's on medications, Jardians and Candicertan. So Jardians is a oral hypoglycemic drug, which is a diabetic drug, and Candicertan is a hypertensive drug. And I also asked him to do a body composition analysis. So we came to know that his body fat is 22.5%. Normal range for this age is like it should be between 11 to 22. And water, his result was 51 percentage, and which has to be between 50 to 65 percentage. And muscle, his muscle percentage is 39.7, versus his muscle has to be somewhere between 73 to 85 percentage. So this is his physical analysis and the current complaint. So he's been diagnosed with CKD in the year 2019, and they just randomly checked his pressure, and the pressure was 210 when he was diagnosed. So that's the time he got diagnosed for both the things. So now getting into the analysis. So 24-hour recall, he wakes up by 6:30 and 7:30. He takes tea and rusk, and 9 o'clock is a typical South Indian. So, and one more thing, he is in US. He's a person from US, and he lives in US. So 9 o'clock he has his breakfast like idli, sambar, chutney, and some fruits. And directly 2:30 he has his typical South Indian lunch. So rice, sambar, sabzi, rasam, and curd. And 4:30 he takes his coffee, and definitely some oil fried snacks, kind of murukku, or what we call it as like kakras, and samosas, vada, bhaji, those kind of stuff he takes. And straight away 8 o'clock he takes his dinner, which is chapati, either chapati or dosa with some sambar chutney or some vegetable gravy. And 10:30 he goes to sleep. So this is his 24-hour recall. And this quality analysis is a non-vegetarian, and he's been restricted to take non-veg. So he takes only once a week, and egg also he takes once a week. Cooking oil, they use gingerly and canola oil, so 3 liters per month. 4 of them are there in their family. Green leafy vegetables he takes once in a week. Fruits every day he takes. Milk thrice weekly in the form of curd or buttermilk. And water he drinks 1 to 2 liters per day. And twice weekly he goes out and eat biryani, chapati, kurma, those kind of stuff. This is the quality analysis. and 7 areas of life. Here it is the interesting part. So physical health is diet is absolutely not balanced. So as a holistic coach, we don't see the disease directly, we see the person. So just now see him as a person without CKD, so his diet is completely definitely not balanced. And exercise, he does some physical activity but not adequate. So he's a person who involves in kind of cardiac workouts like walking, jogging, brisk walking. He does 30 minutes a day, probably 3 days or 4 days in a week, not very regular that too. And personal life, he has got some issues with his wife, and his childhood was little challenging because he had a responsible father. So father never took care of the family, and he has got 7 siblings. Okay, and he's the um, seventh kid in his family. And there was always a kind of what's a disappointment, because whatever he wished to have, he cannot have because of a big family, and father wasn't responsible, and mother was like very pitiable woman. So whatever he would love to have, he always been denied. So he has seen so much of disappointments in his life in his earliest stage. And issues is with his wife means, wife is a person like who is typically behaves like a mother. I mean, mother of 2 kids. And since she has survived that cancer, breast cancer, um, he doesn't have a physical relationship with his wife. So that is the major issue that what he faces with his wife. So personal life is not happy because he is a person who love to have physical relationship, but since because the wife has survived the cancer thing, and she is out of it, so now she's not showing much interest in that. And because of this, my client always, whenever he gets up, he always gets up with that irritated mood, and he doesn't have a peaceful, happy, day start. Always he shouts at people first for few hours in the morning, then he settles down. So he told me all these things in the first call itself, because it's a very very socializing client. So it was easy for me to understand what he was going through. And occasional health, very satisfied. I told you that he's a director in a pharma company, and he has got an amazing work culture. uh, he works from home, and if requires he go to office, otherwise absolutely fine. He's very happy. Social health is a very very humorous person, very good social life he has got so much of friend circle. He's a very outspoken guy, extrovert. So he's a very humorous fellow. But humorous is sometimes it is going beyond the limit kind of. He's a person who cannot take up criticism, so he waits until he gets a chance to criticize the same person who has criticized him in a funny way. And financial health is very very independent and sound. And coming to psycho emotional, as I told you now, he cannot take up criticism, and he always wait for the right opportunity to give it back. So it's like a tit for tat behavior is there, but in a very fun way. But he makes sure that he definitely gets the opportunity and he gives it back to the person. And anything if it is denied for him, say for example, if he wants to have something and if it is being denied, he cannot withstand that, and immediately he feel disappointed and he gets a kind of anger. So he always have this, and he cannot take up, and he cannot accept others mistakes also. So he is a kind of perfectionist. See, he always expect things to happen in a perfect way. So this is a psycho emotional thing. And he has that childish kind of behavior. So even when he starts criticizing others, he give it back in a very childish way. It doesn't look like an adult behaving in that way, because I he shared so many experiences, so many stories, how he gave it back to certain people. It was like very funny, and I was literally connect. The way he was talking was able to connect with a 10-year-old, some 12-year-old boys. And spiritual health is a very religious person. He definitely believe in God. He's very spiritual. He has got an ambition of he wants to actually adopt 10 family to support them financially, so that they all come up. So he want to help them in a way to give them education or get them a job. So he has a very bigger vision, so for which he always, even he came to me saying that, Revati, I have got this bigger vision. I want to adopt a 10 family, for which I want to be alive and healthy. I want to really handhold so many family. If God permit me, then I would definitely go beyond even 10 families. So that's the reason he actually approached. And this is his overall health inner gist. So now interventions. This case is still going on. He has got his packages, but still I want to share certain learnings. So it is halfway through. Now this client is with me for past 8 weeks now, and in this interventions, what I've started giving is, I asked his wife to give 1 or 2 egg whites. So initially I started, first week I started with 1 egg white in the breakfast. And his wife was very skeptical. She was like, it was very challenging for me to convince her, because she's a person who keeps on googling things, so much of information she has. And for her, if it is a kidney disease, then protein is the only enemy that has to be addressed. So it was very challenging for me to convince her to make her give this 1 egg white to her husband in the breakfast. Then eventually after one second week, then I made her asked her to do it like 2 egg whites and 1 yolk, because yolk, it has got phosphorus. In CKD we need to really work on the phosphorus, potassium, and too much of calcium. We have to have a very closer check. So I asked her to take only 1 yolk and 2 egg whites. And in lunch, what I did is like the proportion of rice, vegetable, and protein. So I made them like 2 portion of rice and 1 portion of vegetable and 1 portion of protein. So I generally don't go with the amount asking for cups and all. So I just tell them, like, if you're going to take 1 cup of rice, with the same cup, you have half a cup of vegetable and half a cup of protein. So it is like 2:1:1 ratio. And definitely started working with telling them about low potassium and phosphorus. Of course, wife was like already very much updated. She told, yes ma'am, I know all these things. And still I just want to reinforce that they are on low potassium, low phosphorus diet. And dinner, I need to include vegetables, because there wasn't much vegetable, and there was no protein also. So we have to include all those stuff. So I told him, add 2 handful of vegetables and some thick dal in your dinner. So these are the interventions that's going on. And with this, I've got some results. And before getting on to the results, I just want to connect the emotions and the health condition. So kidney problem, Louis Hay is my my godmother, I can say. I just referred, then I came to know that a person who cannot take criticism, or who always feel very angry or disappointed and behaves like kids in terms of seeing the life. Kids in the sense like just waiting for certain opportunities to give it back and all those stuff. So it was like I was able to connect. So this person has all these emotions carrying from the childhood, because he has got too much of anger and disappointments because of irresponsible father, and many criticism he has faced. And now he's a person who takes criticism in a fun way, but also making sure that he also gives back the criticism in a fun way, in a more impactful way, I can say. So when I was actually little probing in, I came to know that his wife got diagnosed with breast cancer in the year 2018. And from there on, the the damage started happening. So 2019 he get to diagnosed as CKD, that too. So what happened was 2018, when the wife got diagnosed, he started literally carrying his wife, and he was like taking her to the hospital. The treatment, therapy, everything was going on. Only one thing he wants to make sure, that is she survives with good health. And so things were going on that way. And 2019, when he was about to travel, so he was in the airport and suddenly he collapsed. So from there he was taken to the hospital, and for them to see the hypertension, I mean the blood pressure was 210, and immediately he was put on all the tests, and they found that the creatinine was high. So immediately they eventually tested all the renal parameter, and to their surprise, the CKD was in stage 3 from that time itself. So now my client, as I told you earlier, he's a person who wants to have physical relationship with his wife, but since 2018, for almost 1 long year before he got diagnosed as CKD, he has piled up all these anger, the disappointment, some kind of a denial been happening, but he wasn't aware of that. And even when I was trying to explain him, he said like, no Revati, I don't actually have any grudge over my wife. I told, sir, this is your pattern. So since childhood, you've been telling all these things. You don't like all these characteristics, features are with you, and now you have to really analyze. It is not confessing with me. It is all about confessing with you, within yourself. Like, am I still, having carrying that hatred towards my wife? So he's just started to analyzing, and it was like very crystal clear for me, like 2018, and 1 year later he got diagnosed as CKD. And surprisingly, there is no comorbidity existing, no diabetes running in his family, no hypertension running in his family, but he got diagnosed with hypertension, and then eventually they have just sealed him that you have got CKD. So this is the emotions and health condition. And now coming to the very interesting one. So this made me actually do the presentation today with Neelam's guidance, I can say. A lot of insights from Neelam. So I would like to thank Neelam for that. So people think every time any CKD, any renal issues, we always, as a clinical dietitians, we always look into the proteins. We never even look in the other way around. So what happens is like, this is a very good learning for me, because I have never ever handled a renal client in my whole of 14 years experience. So this is the first client. I always run away if there is a renal client. So when he came and he told like my creatinine is like 2.01, I was a bit skeptical, but still I felt like, okay, well, let me try my hands, let me try my knowledge on renal. So what happens is, like, as a clinical dietitian, we always try to focus on more of proteins. Like, we want to really restrict on proteins. But before I put on to the next points, so now he did a recent test. So the first report, the GFR, it was 38 and creatinine was 2.0. That was did in the month of June. And now he came to me, he told like just 5 days back, he has done the testing. GFR has dropped still more to 29 and creatinine has increased to 2.4. Immediately, wife was like very much panicking. My client was like little okay, but she was like, ma'am, too much protein, it has increased, or blah, blah, blah. She started telling me. And they just shared me the report through WhatsApp. The next day was the follow-up call. I told them like, thanks for sharing the report. I will get back to you with analyzing the previous reports, and let's talk. And that's all happened. So that's the result of today's case presentation. So I want to know one simple question. What do you think the reason for creatinine rising up? Any one of you, please. What is the reason for the creatinine, serum creatinine level to go up? Yeah, Neelam, please. Except Neelam, please, anybody can answer. Come on, just a try here. Principal Ji, please. Teacher cannot answer the question, please. See, all the students are sleeping or what? Guys, post lunch, huh?
Revati, what I feel is it is about the waste product getting out of the body. But before getting out, it is getting accumulated and it is finding its way to come out.
But where do you think the waste product is from? What is the source?
Emotions.
Priya, I'm asking clinical question, not about holistic.
Hi Revati, it may be from muscles.
Yeah, hi, Manjunath.
Yeah.
Yes, Manjunath, go ahead.
Is it from muscles?
Yes, bang on. Yes. So how many of you know that actually the serum creatinine rises majority because of the muscle breakdown? How many of you know? Just raise your hands. No? Okay, Archana ma'am knows. Good. Good. So yeah, then my purpose is solved. So I've shared something people doesn't know. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Please lower your hands. So creatinine actually it doesn't come only because of dietary protein. I mean, the creatinine levels goes up not only because of your dietary protein. Actually, it goes up because your muscles are being broken down like for too much. Okay, you people remember like I showed that the body composition analysis is muscle percentage. Anybody remember how much I showed? This muscle percentage?
It was 39.
Perfect, ma'am. Yes, it was 39. But for a man, it has to be 75%. And imagine now he started, the creatinine increased. Again, I'll come to the next interesting part. So what are the possible reasons for, elevated creatinine? So one reason, the primary reason is unnecessary muscle breakdown. So when does this happen? So the second possible reason is when there is very less protein. Body always needs protein to do any kind of work. We need so basic things, at least like building muscles or the bone health. For any nutrients to be get absorbed, there is a carrier, right? The transport mechanism. It is always, we read it as calcium binding protein, iron binding protein. So we have retinol binding protein. So every nutrients has to be binded to protein, and only then it get absorbed. It reaches the target cells, the target organs. So if you don't give enough protein, so body has to carry these things, right? It cannot wait until the master eats protein. So its best option is to go use the muscle, the already built muscle. So it starts breaking down if you don't give enough protein to the body. So in this case, this elevated creatinine possibly because of muscle breakdown. So now the both my client and client's wife was like very scared, because she's literally started telling me, ma'am, I'm very much scared now. I don't think so the diet is working. Then I need to explain them certain things. So what could be the possible reason for creatinine hike? So this I told them. Okay. Another thing, the day before blood test, that matters a lot. And that too when the client is already under the stage 3 of CKD. Imagine if the person is having a party before the blood test. And my client, luckily, when I called him for the follow-up, he was in a party and next day has given the blood test. So I was able to relate that date. I was actually just looking forward for my notes, and I saw the date when I spoke to him. I was on the party, and when he shared the blood report, I was checking the date, and it was exactly the next day morning. So then I asked him, what did you eat? Okay. Guess, any guesses what he must have ate in the dinner?
Biryani.
He didn't take any protein food. He only indulged on carbohydrate. Okay. Obviously, what will happen when you don't take protein for that meal? Your muscle starts breaking, and the creatine, it will have a very short circuit thing kind of. So this is one point I came to know. Second thing, what has happened is after the party, so I spoke to him when he was in the party, after which I didn't know what happened. Then he is revealing the story that suddenly he has got some severe back pain. He couldn't tolerate. So since I told you that he is in US, so he have called up the emergency. Immediately they took him to the emergency. There they have injected certain things to make him dehydrated. Okay. So they have given some 3 injections in different sites to make him dehydration. I don't know what is that, what kind of science behind it, but they have made him dehydrated. And then next day morning, he has given the, testing, the blood testing. So imagine there is already muscle breaking down is happening, and there is no enough water also. They have made him dehydrated. Now imagine the concentration of creatinine in the blood. So this is another reason for that sudden hike for 2.4. Now the another interesting thing, medication, Jardians. So Jardians for me, when I took the history, honest answer, I never.
Hold. Ask what Jardians does.
I already mentioned it here.
See,
I'm sorry, I already mentioned it. See, Jardians, generally I don't go in depth with medications, which I really learned that is very, very important when you do a case, when you handle a client, especially a client who is taking up medications, we need to know the complete history, geography of everything. So this is a very good case for me to learn the importance of knowing about medication. So Jardians, he told, ma'am, this is a trial medication being given for CKD. That's what doctor told me. So since 2019, he's on this medication. He told this is a trial medicine for CKD. So I just believed. I didn't do any research. And when I was actually talking to Neelam, then before talking to Neelam also, I just went into, and to my shocking surprise, Jardians is a oral hypoglycemic agent. It is a diabetic drug. And my client's HbA1c is 5.7 only. And I was thinking why they gave him this medicine. And I was able to relate then. I was able to see glucose in the urine. Then when I was looking out for the Jardians mechanism is not to work on insulin or nothing. It just pulls all the blood glucose and pushes into the urine. Now I was really shocked. I don't know whether the doctor is prescribed this medicine with sense or not. He has diagnosed that this person is a CKD, that to stage 3, and he has given this kind of a medication which works in a mechanism where it pulls all the glucose and pushes into the urine. How will the kidney will function if the glucose is going to get stuck in the glomeruli? I was really shocked. Then when I was talking to the client's wife, I asked, ma'am, you are like very thorough with everything. How come you missed this Jardians? She told, yes, ma'am, somehow I missed. See, look at the perception. If they've come to a dietitian, they charge you like anything. They question you like anything. But when they go to a doctor, they keep their mouth shut. They don't even ask the basic questions of what for this. They have told trial medicine for CKD. They have nodded their head and they're just gulping it since 3 years. He's been gulping this medicine. And I never knew that. And when I was able to connect all the dots, then I felt like probably the CKD could have worsened because of this too much of Jardians also. This is one. And next, there is a very close connection in this case, particularly testosterone levels makes a very, very close connection with elevated creatinine. So any guesses why testosterone levels, that too, especially in this case? Guys, please don't sleep here, please. Yes, Archana ma'am.
It could be because he was not having a sexual life with that's why, because it's a sex hormone, and since he was not getting satisfied, so that's why it was going up and up.
Yes, ma'am. One reason. That's a great yes, ma'am. That's a one reason. What does actually testosterone do? Very basic primary function.
Muscle buildup.
Exactly, Shivpriya. Bang on. See, testosterone levels plays a very, very important role in terms of building up the muscle. So my suspect, so I have asked my client to do the testosterone levels blood test. Now, just a couple of days back, I've then given a list of tests to be done. So I've given this testosterone level. So when I was like looking into the cause of the cause, I was able to see if the testosterone levels are on a very good range, then the person is able to build good amount of muscles. Means what? Muscle breakdown can be decreased, which in turn will help us to lower the creatinine. And now this testosterone also got a very close connect with sex life. So what happens is, since my client has significantly dropped, he is not that active sexually, even the testosterone levels could have dropped. This is my guess. I'm yet to get the results. So since the testosterone levels drop, see the testosterone levels always, try to maintain when they are sexually active, then the testosterone levels are also good. It is a vicious cycle, like it goes hand in hand. Testosterone is good, sex life is also good, and it is also the other way around. So since he is like very much disappointed in his personal life, the levels would have dropped, and because of which he's not able to build enough muscle. So we are able to see a very close connect that because of this testosterone levels, the creatinine could have increased. Okay, so when next time as a dietitian, as a coach, when there is any kind of increase, especially in terms of any renal cases, try to look in for other than protein. It's not only the protein. That's why I just use this. I've got 99 problems and protein ain't one. That is not the only one. And the other important thing, when I was cross-checking the lab, the first reading what he shared was from a different health service provider, and this one was completely from a different health service provider. When I was asking like why you shared this kind of a report, because there was lots of discrepancies. For example, when he shared the glucose, the first reading, first report, it showed 3 plus glucose in urine. Okay, and when he shared the second report, the new report, that showed like it is 0.60 in urine. So how will I calibrate? I mean, how will I compare when there is no similarity? How can a person can compare whether he has increased or decreased? We don't know. And moreover, the chemical reagent they use is also different, and I was able to see different method or technique used to analyze the parameters. So I clearly told them, sir, this is not the report. This we cannot get into conclusion. You don't get panic. You have to get the reports done with the same lab. Then he told me, ma'am, this reading I took it for the insurance purpose because they used to do some kind of a health checkup. So I used this service provider for the insurance thing. So I told them, when you want to compare something, you have to have similar results. We cannot compare, it's similar to that of weighing yourself on a different weighing scale. So you cannot compare the different weighing scale weight. Then they understood. So before you conclude by seeing the blood report, there are so many aspects that we need to look into. And one important aspect is check with the client what did they do the day prior to the blood test. It would give you so much of informations. Okay, and finally, but very very important thing what I was able to sense with Neelam's help is, when he collapsed at the airport on 2019 and he was rushed to the hospital, his BP was 210. And now they have concluded that because of hypertension only, his kidney got affected. Though he never had any medical history, I mean, no family history of any comorbidity. After Neelam told me, after a discussion with her, then I realized probably he must have not ate something, or probably he didn't hydrate himself properly, or he was under a stress, or sometimes acute stress also suddenly spike up your BP. Probably that could be a reason, but immediately with 1 or 2 checkups, they immediately put him on the medication, and now he is with the medication. And whenever he checks his BP, it is showing like 100, 110 bar, 80, 70, only this much with the medication still. Of course, so benefit of doubt, but still we have to really find out whether that person was suffering with hypertension before or not is a question mark. But he told like when he was diagnosed with this elevated BP, immediately they checked the creatinine and other stuff. Then they put the blame on BP. Sir, boss, you have got BP, so because of that the CKD started. But my client was hale and healthy until his wife was like went into the cancer thing, and he was taking care of the entire family, supporting so much. There was so much stress going on, I'm not denying it, but simply I don't know how doctors are actually diagnosing and coming into conclusion. But see, as a dietitian, as a holistic coach, please girls, make sure that you don't give up. You have to really go in depth with all these things. whenever there is something elevated, if it is glucose, immediately don't jump into the person is taking too much of carbohydrate. It could be so many other reasons also. Probably insulin resistance could be there. Anything could be there. It is not only one pertaining nutrients. We cannot just blame on, since the serum, the blood parameters are looking high. So always go in depth, just keep connecting with emotions is complete lifestyle. In this case, what I feel is 1 year of no sexual activity probably could have triggered all these things and made him into a CKD stage 3 person. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello all, welcome back. So you would have watched the case study of chronic kidney disease client. So I had just presented that case at that time because I just wanted to share my learnings for that time, and post which I couldn't share the blood readings, after which it was done in the same lab. So today I'm going to just share the findings, like what happened after that. So let's get started. So when it comes to renal health, now after watching the case presentation, you all now know that it is not just the just the electrolytes or just the dietary proteins, but it is beyond that. So let's see what was the result. So now the client, when he came to me, so you already knew that how was his blood parameter, especially his bun and creatinine, and also there was some glucose that got excreted in the urine also. So I also gave the reason because Jardians is one of the culprit, which was actually taking up the blood glucose and just excreting in the urine. So what happened was I just asked the client to stop the medication for just 3 days. I mean, he did it on his own by stopping the medication for 3 days just before the blood test was done. And so this report is the same lab where he got tested in the first time. So now you can see that there is an amazing dip in bun, the blood urea nitrogen and creatinine. Hope you all remember that in that previous case study, the lab, it actually showed 2.4 the creatinine. So he was like really worried and concerned, and his wife was like very much disappointed with the reading. But when it was tested in the same lab, it showed 1.95. So it started dropping. And glomerulol filtration rate, even that has improved from 38 to 41. And RBC really improved. So MCHC, everything was like really good. And PTH, there is something really interesting we all need to know about parathyroid hormone and the connection between the parathyroid hormone and the kidney disease. So here you can see the parathyroid hormone was really high. Normal range is somewhere below 65. That is what is expected. But here it was showing 71, and post which it dropped to 52. So to know more about the connection between parathyroid hormone and kidney disease, you need to attend the live session um, when we are going to discuss about the renal case, right? And so you can see even the phosphorus has dropped. And in urine, there's another interesting outcome that the glucose was completely nil. So we stopped Jardians for just 3 days, and he was able to see that there was no trace of glucose in the urine. And the blood, the blood strains wasn't seen. And creatinine, the excretion, the urine excretion of creatinine improved from 56 to almost 87. And the ratio of protein to creatinine also dropped significantly from 168 to 108. So this was an amazing outcome. The client was really really happy, and he was like really surprised and shocked to see that this much can be done via such kind of holistic approach and nutrition education. So he was very very happy. And he even told me that Revati, I would love to actually change my doctor if possible, if somebody can help me stop this Jardians, because we all know that US, there the healthcare system is completely different. They cannot do anything on their own like we do it in India. So they need to really take up a proper prescription before they even stop any medication. So proper advice from the doctor. So he's just working on that. So another interesting thing is like I always tell you that body composition analysis is very very important, and so he joined me on 17th April. So on 25th April he gave me the following reports saying that his weight is 70 kg, his body fat percentage is 22.5, water was 51.4 percentage, and muscle was 39.7. So I've already explained in the case presentation also that a men at least a minimum of 65 to 70 percentage of muscle mass is required for a man, and here he has got almost like close to 50% of it. And post that, after almost like close to 3 months later, so we did the testing again, the body composition analysis on the same machine. So there he was able to see a slight increase in his weight, that is 72.5 kg, and body fat has dropped actually, so to 20.1. Water, it has increased a bit to 54.4. So now I would like to here highlight that, see, the more you hold, I mean, you have a normal level of water, the concentration of any biochemical parameter in your blood actually drops. I feel like it could be a reason that enough of water probably could have showed a little lesser creatinine in his blood. That's what I feel personally. So any kind of health condition, try to just regulate water, because too much of dehydration shows the blood parameters too concentrated, probably the values could read high. So I felt like, okay, water, it is good. There is not much of water retention happen. I just checked whether he has got any edema, so he's absolutely fine. And muscle, it has improved like 1.2 percentage. Now his muscle is really good. As I told you again, the more you build the muscle, the creatinine doesn't roam around in the blood, so it really stays inside the muscle. But the thing is, like, we have to be very conscious that the client doesn't break his muscle, because only when you don't give enough protein through diet, then obviously the muscle has to break down, and it might create a lot of health hazards in terms of creatinine release into the bloodstream. So all these things you need to really really connect every dots, so that you have a complete picture of how to handle a renal client. So next, this one really motivated me to hold on to this case, is that when I was just surfing, I found that urine creatinine excretion and clinical outcome in CKD. So they have given that the conclusion part is, in any person with CKD stage 3 and stage 4. Okay, so what they say is the urine creatinine declines for every year they progress towards a CKD. So that's what they have told. But in this case, I broke that. It is not really necessary that as the client proceeds, I mean, the more years he suffer with CKD, not really the urine creatinine really needs to drop down, but rather we can really improvise the excretion of creatinine through urine with proper education and proper follow up and proper motivation and all those stuff. So I just felt like sharing this uh, study, the research. And so I always like to inspire people, and they should say, like, because of you I'm just holding on. Literally, this client told me that, Revati, I mean, the lot of education you gave me regarding this renal, and since he's been suffering it with almost 3 to 4 years of this health condition, but nevertheless he never got such a education or such an awareness about all these things. So everything was new to him regarding testosterone, parathyroid hormone, and other stuffs, jardians. So to summarize, this is it in a capsule form. So whenever you are handling a renal client, make sure that you are going to handle in every aspect. It is not just pertaining to your dietary protein or only the electrolytes. So thank you so much for watching. Let's hear it from you all in the live session. Thank you.